More moves are incoming for the Los Angeles Dodgers as a new report reveals a wild update on why the signing of Kyle Tucker has just opened the door even wider for the Dodgers to make a blockbuster trade for Tarik Skubal. We'll tell you why and what we mean right here today on Dodgers Digest. Welcome, everybody. I'm Jace Andrews. I appreciate you tuning into today's show. Hope you're having a wonderful day because I sure am. I woke up with Kyle Tucker on my team. I'm so ecstatic. Obviously, this was a huge signing. We've talked about it for basically the whole offseason. The Dodgers got it done. $60 million a year. It's fantastic. And maybe even the best part of this, I mentioned how if the Dodgers didn't get Kyle Tucker, they would get Bo Bichette. If they didn't get Bo Bichette, they would get Kyle Tucker. They were going to get either or. Well, as soon as they got Kyle Tucker, Bo Bichette did not even go back to the Blue Jays. He went to the Mets today, signing, I believe, a 3-year deal with the Mets. So Blue Jays, I guess we might see it in the World Series, but who knows? You might not be putting the right money in the right places with Dylan Cease and a couple other players. But besides the point, the Dodgers now have Kyle Tucker. But what's next? Because this opened the door for some more moves. Why, you ask? Well, now they have some prospect depth that, in theory, they can be a little bit more lenient with. And this is where we start today. The Dodgers have one last move up their sleeve that, if people already didn't hate them, would make them legit hate us. Now, of course, this is the move that we talked about in the intro. It's trading for Tarik Skubal. But why is this more likely than ever? Well, that's what we're going to talk about here on today's show. Now, before we get into the rest of the show, though, today's video is brought to you by Kalshi. And if you download Kalshi using the link in the description and you use code DIGESTMLB, you're going to get $20 when you trade your first 100. Kalshi is the largest prediction market in the United States, and on their platform, you can trade yes or no on real-life events, sports, elections, news, pretty much anything. You can trade on the weather. Now, whether you're in California like the Dodgers, Texas, or anywhere across the country, Kalshi is now live in all 50 states. For sports fans, we can trade on game outcomes, playoff chances, or player performances, all on a regulated market where you can cash out at any time. Looking forward here, the Dodgers, their forecasted win total on Kalshi is 103, but if you think they are going to get 110. You can trade yes on that to win $770. And hey, the way this is going, they might actually do it. Kalshi is genuinely the smarter way to use your sports or news knowledge, and you can close positions whenever you want. Remember, download Kalshi using that link in the description, and don't forget to use the code DIGESTMLB to get your $20 bonus. So, we know the Dodgers had very, very good prospect depth as it is. In fact, they were ranked the top farm system by an MLB executive poll this offseason, and it's very clear to see why. They have a lot of guys in the top 5 that are projected to be high-level MLB players. Jose DePaul, Zaire Hope, and guys that aren't even in the top 5 that could easily be top players. But one thing you'll notice about this top 5, 4 of them are outfielders. What is Kyle Tucker? An outfielder. Now, I understand Kyle Tucker is only here for 4 years, and you got to be kind of lenient with, after the fact, you probably might have a sneaking suspicion he will sign somewhere else. But you could easily trade a couple of those guys right now to go out and get an ace, and that ace would be Tarik Skubal. Skubal last season won his second AL Cy Young in back-to-back years, lowered his ERA from the year prior to 2.21. A whip of .891 is fantastic, and we all know what Tarik Skubal is capable of. I don't need to sit here and glaze him over and over and over again about how good of a pitcher he is, because we all know this. But what we do know now is that Skubal is not exactly in a great situation with the Tigers. Now, last time we talked about him, it was, well, the contract negotiations for an extension were not going well on either side. Tarik Skubal's camp was asking for nearly $400 million. Meanwhile, the Tigers camp was saying, yeah, we'll maybe give you $200 million, like maybe. That's max there. Well, that's gone further because if you don't know, arbitration has come up, and one arbitration case that is going to be watched upon the entire MLB is this one. Scubal will be a free agent in the offseason and is currently locked in a contract dispute with Detroit. Scubal filed for arbitration at $32 million, and the Tigers countered at $19 million. You're saying $13 million in difference has captivated the entire baseball world, and many wonder what will happen if the Tigers lose in arbitration. So basically what this is, if you kind of don't get what we're talking about, as you are signing your rookie contract, you have 6 years, but after about 3 years, you go into arbitration where you are basically going to ask for what you think you deserve, because it's not fair to a rookie who has a 6-year contract to be in his 5th year and be a top player in the league but get paid $500,000 or $1 million, whatever it might be. Well, that's where this comes in, where arbitration can be kind of a situation where you basically go to court to discuss your salary and then whether or not it's worth it to the team and the organization or not. So for Tarik Skubal, he believes that he is worth $32 million to pitch this year. And I think that might be a little low for him. But besides the point, the Tigers thought that was insanely high and offered him, like I said, $19 million. The $13 million spread is by far the largest in salary arbitration history, according to Jeff Passan. And like the report said, if they lose this arbitration, they are going to be paying $32 million for Skubal this upcoming season. Would they want to do that? Well, that's where we go back to the article from Drew Koch of Dodgers Way. A $32 million payday for Skubal could cripple Detroit's efforts to build around their all-star heading into 2026, and it may force the Tigers to get the most bang for their buck by trading him before the season gets underway. Given the Dodgers' depth of resources in the minor leagues, few teams will be able to match their type of trade package that LA could put forward. And he's right. There's not a team in the MLB that could match a trade package that the Dodgers could put out there. But at the same time, we know what type of pitcher we're talking about. We know the type of guy that Tarik Skubal is, and we know that the price tag on him is hefty right now. That's why it's really about Detroit and their decision-making, because there's one of 2 ways or one of 3 ways this goes. The first way is that Tarik Skubal wins arbitration, he gets $32 million, and the back-to-back AL Cy Young winner ends up with his $32 million contract, and the Tigers keep him on through the season all the way through. The second option, the Tigers lose in arbitration. They paid Tarik Skubal $32 million, and ultimately they decide that's too rich for their blood, and they trade him either before the season, or if the season isn't going well, they trade him in the middle of the season because they know they're not going to get an extension done. Or the third option, which I think is the least likely, the arbitration case does lower the efforts of Tarik Skubal to below a $28 million mark, where the Tigers feel a lot more comfortable, and he plays through the season, doesn't get traded, and potential is still there for the Tigers to get that, let's say, extension done. But here's the point I'm trying to say. If Tarik Skubal wins this arbitration case, in fact, whether he wins it or not, the disrespect to be a back-to-back AL Cy Young winner, and for your team, who knows that they would not be in the position they were in last year without him, offer you $19 million. And I understand that's a lot of money. I get it. But in the perspective that we're talking about it here, with a back-to-back AL Cy Young winner that hadn't been done in 20-plus years, and they're offering you less than a lot of mid to upper-tier players are getting when you are the best at your position, it's kind of embarrassing to an extent. And so I kind of asked the question here, would you want the Dodgers to trade for Skubal, even if it does take out some of their prospect depth? It would probably take out a couple of their top 10 prospects, maybe a couple of their top 5. If you would like to trade for him, even though it would cripple the depth, type Y for yes. If you would not, then I want you to type in for no. I want you to let me know down in the comments section. Now, to round this all out, Tarik Skubal is a very good pitcher. The back-to-back AL Cy Young pitcher is a guy that I think anybody would like to have on their roster, but back to those decisions I said, the Tigers have lots of things to make. But one other decision they could do is definitely getting the $32 million. They decide, okay, we can make this work, we'll pay him. And they're not able to fulfill their roster needs behind him because they don't have the money to sustain that. In that case scenario, they don't do as well in the AL as they did this past year. And ultimately, they're out of the playoffs or maybe on the fringe of the playoff race when it comes to the MLB trade deadline, with no end in sight for the discussions of Tarik Skubal getting an extension done. In that situation, wouldn't you think that the Dodgers would be a team that they could go out and trade for Tarik Skubal, knowing that the Tigers, they're not going to be able to extend him and they're going to want to get something out of the best pitcher in the American League? Now, that could lower the price, that could do a lot of things, but I know for one thing, the Dodgers still might be the only team that could corral the price that the Tigers will ask for. Now, obviously, this is such a interesting topic, and I think it really has to wait until after arbitration, but for now, we wait, we look, we expect what's going to happen, and we decide what is next for the Dodgers after getting Tarik Skubal, or after getting Kyle Tucker. We appreciate you watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section on all this and what you would like the Dodgers to do from now on. But for now, we appreciate you. We'll see you next time. Peace out, guys.